Okay, so I'll just talk really loud. And if my neighbor's got a problem, oh, let me not say that so loud. I'll just talk really loud. How does that? Oh, I'm breathing all loud too? Okay. So, welcome to the cover reveal. You guys are probably like, bitch, just show the cover already because it's been 30 minutes and I've been sitting here waiting. Okay. So, first, I just want to say thank you guys for being here. I honestly thought that like one person would show up and it would be like my mom, and that's so weird. But I'm so glad that like bunch of you like came out to say like hi and see the cover. So yay! And I'm just gonna go ahead and show you the cover now. Okay. Okay, so here's the start of the voiceover because as soon as I showed the cover, all the audio dropped out. So here we go. So yay! This is The Darkness Comes at Dawn. I'm so excited. I'm so proud of this cover because working with Kim at Kimchi Designs is like the best part of, you know, like the back end of publishing and getting the cover together and getting the design layout. She is literally the best part of everything because she's so amazing and artistic at what she does. So on this cover, you notice the tree is the same except for it's missing its leaves. It's on fire literally, and there's a girl on the cover, and this girl is not Katie. This is actually Zuri. She's a big character in this next book that her and Katie become friends through another acquaintance. And Zuri is actually a witch. She is literally the most magical thing and my muse. She is my Japanese muse. Like, she is bomb. Plus, she brings both the light and the dark to this whole trilogy. Like, I love her. So this book, guys, Katie is forced to face like so many issues that are left unresolved from the last book, and unfortunately, she doesn't have the best support. So the book takes so many dark turns on a personal and on world levels, and oh my god. However, in all that darkness, she meets like a whole new cast of crazy and exciting characters who bring so much light and color to her world in Grey City. So, guys, I really, really, absolutely loved writing this book, and it was both hilarious and sometimes devastating. So, it comes out on April 17th. You can pre order it now. There's a link in the description, and I'm going to open up the floor to questions. Okay, so underrated book. Oh, yeah, you guys can hear me. Oh, I guess I can hear myself. I'm so used to hearing myself, I never noticed. Most underrated book, I think, Year of the Secret Assignments. There we go. Okay, so are my main characters people of color? So my main character, Katie, she originally is not a person of color. She's kind of from Eastern Europe, like bloodline wise and ethnicity wise. Uh, Tristan is the same because their parents are but many side characters are people of color. What inspired me to write this series? Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Um, a bad book, actually a string of bad paranormal books. I thought that I think you guys can hear me. I thought that I could write the paranormal books a lot better. I mean, it was much harder than I honestly like thought going into it. I was like, I can write this. This is so easy. All these people be doing it all wrong, and it was 10 times harder for me to do than I originally thought because bitch got an ego, but not the skills to back it up sometimes. And one book was The Last Straw, and I won't say the title name because I'd feel terrible for putting it on blast like that. But I read this book and it was so bad that I just sat down and I wanted to write something that I wanted to read. Why did I decide to go with white main characters when many don't feature people of color? No, that's actually a really good question. You know, I first wrote this book back in like 2000 and not even 12. I first wrote the book in 2011. And this is before I was, how I hate to say it like this, but awake. um, I was used to seeing white main characters in fantasy and paranormal. And so it was very natural for me to make my main character white. Also, I'm not a good Mary Sewer, so I don't. Oh, I'm out again. So I don't write characters that look like me at all. Even what is a tip for career or future career path in writing and journalism? You know what? I'm going to say become a great storyteller, even for journalism. I hate that journalism is supposed to be nonfiction, but most people spin it with fiction. Um, but everyone wants to read a story, true or false. Okay. What hard? Oh, Hogwarts houses. Okay, Hogwarts. Katie, she is a fuck. What is Katie? Katie would be like Gryffindor Puff. Tristan is Ravenclaw, but he's got a mean streak. Let me see. For this book, Zuri is she's definitely Slytherin, but you'd think she was a Hufflepuff. And then I've got West. He's totally a Gryffindor. Sorry if I spelled all those wrong. Hufflepuff! Yay! I'm not a Hufflepuff. I'm like Ravenclaw and Slytherin. But I'm married to a Hufflepuff, so Hufflepuffs are amazing people. I'm not that good of a person most of the time. Not like good enough to be a Hufflepuff. So, what's your favorite part of writing? Oh, revising is my favorite part. I like your book characters have normal names. I don't have to look up how to say them. Right? Cow. No, but yeah, I can't. If I can't pronounce a name, I'm not writing it because I definitely I sure as hell can't type it if I can't pronounce it. So okay, let's see. How many books will be in this series? Just three. Just three. I'm totally done after the third book. Okay, how do you create plot long enough to stretch for 3 books? Okay, so stretching plot. You don't. Okay, you never stretch your plot. It's just like life. You have new chapters in your life. Like you don't have to stretch your life out. Like either you get hit by a bus and it ends, or your life continues on and you just have new journeys. I hope you guys can hear that because I can hear myself. So never stretch out a plot and never think that you have to. That just means that your plot did end and that something else needs to happen to your characters or something big event needs to happen. Like in my second book, Katie deals with a lot of internal issues left over from the first book, but then a lot of big world events happen to her. So I didn't necessarily have to stretch the plot. The plot just happened to her towards the end of the second book. And in the third book, now she's dealing with the outfall of all of that from this book. What steps did you take to become a developmental editor? Okay, so honestly, it was just building on my skills and working with people for free first and categorizing all of the things that I noticed that people did wrong and really asking myself how and why. First of all, why do people do the things that they do wrong? What makes it wrong? And then how do you fix it? And after beta reading for so long and really focusing on that, like, you know, I was beta reading for other people, but other people didn't know that I was really beta reading for myself. But working on other people's stuff first to build on my own skills and my confidence in it really helped prepare me and gave me like the courage and the skill to be a developmental editor. Okay. How long does it usually take for you to write a book? Okay, so my first book, okay, there's a difference between writing a book and then revising a book. My first book took me a week to write. I literally didn't eat much or sleep a lot. I just wrote. And it was garbage, complete 100% garbage. It took me like 2, almost 3 years to revise it completely to something I could be proud of. So I always say that writing is a skill that you learn and that you have to hone, but storytelling is a separate skill that you have to learn. So as long as you're working on both skills at the same time, it takes you a lot shorter to be able to write books. Like this book took me maybe 6 months to write. I spent a lot of time developing it in my head, and then by the time I went down to write it, I was implementing writing skills and storytelling skills to kind of cut down on revision time. And that meant that my revisions went a lot easier because I knew what I was looking for and I knew how to fix it. So that's really a hard question because this third book has taken me a year to write, and it's still in the first draft phase. So every book is different. It depends on the inspiration and whether I'm in the world completely or not, is whether I can really pump it out and start revising. Revising takes me anywhere between 6 months to like a year and a half. Okay. I'm gonna start writing a book soon, but I'm so busy with school right now. Most likely I have to wait till summer break or something. Oh, I'm sorry, Katie. That sucks. You said that you've worked as an editor, right? How did you get into that business? Guys, I just put myself out there. I just freelanced myself, and I mean, I didn't like cut myself short or anything like that. I just told people that, hey, my skills are valuable. I often give samples. Oh, I'm gone. How do I do? Oh, I'm back. Jesus. Okay. So I often do samples so people know what it's going to be like working with me and what kind of skills and value I can give them because, like not everybody is going to enjoy the way that I work. So that's kind of, I just put myself out there and I did it and some people decided, yay, and I'm happy for that. Okay, let me see. So stretching plot. Oh, Jesus. Okay. What's a trend you'd like to see in fiction this year? You know what? I'm gonna be on my diversity train. I love to see more diversity in fantasy and sci-fi. And I don't just mean diversity in people, I mean diversity in thought and plots. I just want to see new stuff. I want to see authors. Oh, and then of course, I want to see a trend of quality, well-written books. I want to stop being able to like guess what's going on and pick apart these books so fast. So I guess the trend is I really want a lot more. I want better sci-fi, especially, and I want there to be some bomb-ass worlds. That's not really a trend. It's not like a type of story. I don't care what goes on in the story. I just want it to be cohesive and bomb as fuck. That didn't answer your question. I'm sorry. Okay. Add onto your plot. Okay. That cover though. Thank you. I'll try not to run my characters over buses. Okay, did you struggle? Oh, not enough world building. World building was a struggle for me. Because that was one of my weakest points. And book 2 is when I really had to up my game with world building because Katie goes from a contemporary world where she dabbles in this other world kind of to straight up in Grey City almost all the time throughout this book. And so I really had to ask myself, what is Grey City like? What are the people there like? What's going on? What's the history behind it? What's going on with it? What's the culture like? Their different species. How do they commingle? I had to ask myself all these questions, and I struggle all the time with world building because world building is really culture building, and it's understanding how different cultures work with each other or how a single culture works with all the people in it. So yeah, it's a struggle for me every day. But I constantly question myself, my culture, American culture, cultures in America that are different, and how like a if someone is Japanese American, what's the difference between Japanese American culture versus Japanese culture? Like I question all those things all the time, and even I'm going to be ignorant of a lot of things, and I'm not going to get things right, and so it's always a struggle. But I don't think writing is something you can ever like be a master at. You're always struggling and always learning and trying to do better. I hope that answered the question. Okay, so let's see. I'm late, but hi. Hey, maybes. Thank you. Okay, do you have any tips for writing short stories? Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm the worst at short stories. I hate short stories. I'm bad at short stories. Actually, you know what? A short story, I think, is honestly just a scene. If you can write a scene in a chapter of a long book, I think that's kind of the same thing as writing a short story, because it has a beginning, a middle, an end, and the character somehow grows because of it and lives because of it. So I'm gonna say get on your scene game, and short stories, you're gonna do well. Don't ask me about short stories. I'm so sorry. I suck at them. I've never been good at them. This is probably the worst answer somebody could probably give you. But you know what? I do know an author who's amazing at writing short stories, and his name's Alan Heathcock. I'm going to put it in the comments. Alan Heathcock, great at short stories. And Flannery O'Connor. They're both really great at writing short stories, and Flannery O'Connor actually has a nonfiction thing where she talks about writing short stories a lot, so you should ask somebody more qualified than me. Okay, so like, what are the images in the frames behind you? Oh, these things. A lot of these things. Okay, this one is like a picture of me at a wedding with my husband and my son. This is a Christmas card I got from friends in England. That's an owl crate thing that I thought was cute, so I kept it. This is just like stickies. How do I grab these? Yeah, these are just like page. Oh, I'm out again. Page flaps. I'm out. Oh, there I am. Okay, and then a postcard, and then that's like a bookmark. I think this has been here for so long. I'm probably gonna change it up or something. It's a bookmark for a book I got. Best books of the year. I'm back. Let me see. Look in the comments. Okay, Poison Study is one that I like. I haven't read that many books this year that were good. I mean, like best, like. But I can tell you what I'm reading right now, and actually, oh, there's the sound. Okay, so I'm talking about time management. Actually, one of the best things that I do for time management is I have a bullet journal, and I write down like, oh, let me talk louder. I write down like a whole bunch of shit that I have to get done. That's my last thing. Like every week and goals and stuff like that. So that helps to keep me on track with things. However, my son, he's really good at playing independently, but I kind of raised him that way because I am not a good playmate, never have been. And oh my God, sometimes uh, dinner doesn't get done. So like we have to eat takeout, or my husband will have to cook. Sometimes the house is messy. Sometimes I don't get to read a book. Like I literally read 3 books in January and February combined. So you can tell that like I don't get to do as much as I wish I could do, but I try, and I'm not that hard on myself when I don't do it. So I think it's all about just setting some goals and working towards them, and put a system in place every day, something that you can do, so that at least that's what I do. I try to work between this time and this time. I try to make sure that lunch and I spend some time with my son between these times, and then I try to make sure that oh, I think I'm out. I can't spell when I type this fast. Sorry, guys. Be proud. Okay, be proud of your own style and the way that you do things, and know that it's a life thing. Sometimes I'm super jealous of people who write amazing prose, like flowery, beautiful prose, and like what's her name of the Raven Boys? I love her writing style, but that'll never be me. I don't write that way. I don't write that way at all. I'm very like to the point and punctual, and just kind of like get it done. And I'm really different in that way. So don't compare yourself, one, and constantly build on your skills. If you do feel like you lack confidence in one area, just build on your skills there and keep working at it. But definitely stop comparing yourself. Okay. So your chapters, okay. Chapters are a distinct period of development. Yes. Chapters are distinct periods of development. Of something. That's so vague. I'm so sorry. But like in a chapter, you can have a character who grows based on, like, they can have personal growth, you can have plot growth, you can have world growth, which should also have some other type of plot growth. You can have a subplot growth that shows character growth, but there is some type of development of something. If your chapter isn't developing anything, it's kind of a waste of space. So always make sure that something is progressing no matter what. It can't just be a cutesy scene or like, let me stop. I was going to use this comparison with Sarah J. Maas. She has a scene where like the main character and this dude are like having lunch, and they're kind of like having a lunch date. And I'm like, well, that's cute and all, but this isn't like, you can't think of your story like a episode filler in a show. You know, when you watch shows and there's definitely a filler episode where nothing progresses and nothing happens, it's just there to fill in for the season. Yeah, don't do that in your books, because people will put your book down and they won't go back to it. It's not like a show that's only 30 minutes long. It's, a full chapter that takes time, and people will put that shit down and not pick it back up. So always make sure it's progressing something. Is my book on Goodreads? Yes, my book is on Goodreads. And I didn't even tell anybody the synopsis. Oh my god. I think I did, but then the sound was off. And so, yes, my book is on Goodreads. There should be a link in the description too if you guys want to pre-order it. There should be a link there to Amazon, and it's on there. It's in Goodreads. So, yes, go read the blurb, give it some love. But yeah, you can buy my book anywhere at this point now. Confidence builds your... Oh, that's me. Oh. Lindsay's going to go post something on Instagram. We should go check that out. So do I self-publish? I do self-publish. My genre is essentially paranormal romance. That's what it would be categorized as. And right now, the trend for paranormal romance, everyone says, we can't sell this book. No one's going to buy paranormal romance. Do you have anything with fantasy? And I'm just like, well, technically it's urban fantasy, thank you, but no, I don't have anything specifically finished and ready right now. And they're like, oh, let us know when you do. And I'm like, fuck you guys. No, but yeah, this genre right now is like everybody's rolls their eyes when they hear vampire or werewolf or witches. And sadly, mine has more vampires in it than people are willing to buy. So I self-publish these. However, I still have to freelance and outsource all of the copy editing and stuff like that, because there's a lot that goes into self-publishing and it sucks. But there's also a lot that goes into traditional publishing that's kind of similar and the same. And at the moment, I can't say I'm that mad, because what a lot of traditional publishers are doing to authors these days, they're putting them through the gauntlet. You've got to like advertise on your own and do all this other stuff on your own. So I'm essentially doing the same thing, just without the traditional publisher, bringing some clout to my genre. Shame on them. People still love paranormal romance. What's wrong with them? Okay, so what was the cover illustration process like? You know what? This has been the best. Okay, like, I freak out over everything that I don't have control over, except for designing my covers. I plugged her earlier, and I don't know if anybody heard me, but I said Kim G Designs. She designed my cover, and I think I put it in the descriptions, because I know I'm saying it, and it probably doesn't sound all that great. Kim G Designs. But anyways, I simply gave her an idea, like a storyboard idea of what I wanted. I said I wanted my one of my side characters, Zuri. She's a Japanese girl, and she's a witch. And I wanted her to throw, like, literally, I wanted some tarot cards. I wanted this tree on fire to kind of like show the burning process of what's going on in this book. And she literally came out with this. I mean, the same thing with the Keeper's Vow. I was like, I kind of want this. I feel like this. And she's just like, boom. And I'm just like, oh my God, she read my mind. So the process in general, if you find someone who really loves what they do and they're really passionate and they're great at what they do, I think it goes super easy, because someone who is artistically inclined will take what you want and replicate it. But someone who isn't, or like if you try to go cheap with it, the process isn't going to be fun. Okay, so, yeah. I mean, like, as far as like the process of what goes into it, literally she just gives me a mock-up. She sends it to me in some different colors, and I'm like, this is the color I want. And then she just like, oh, how about this? And I'm like, oh, yep, that works. And she just delivers. I mean, like, this could not have been an easier process for me. This is actually the easiest part of everything for me. Especially, I give up complete control, and I just throw it at her, some ideas of what I want, and she comes back with amazingness. So I'm the worst person to ask what this process is like, because for me, it is super easy. Would you advise new writers to self-publish or traditional? And what would you suggest doing first? I would say first, JoJo, know what genre you're in. if you're in a genre that, if you've got a manuscript right now and it's contemporary, go ahead and query it first. Contemporary is always looking for like essentially the same shit. Like, they do have their trends, but they're cool with anything and everything all the time. If you've got something more fantasy or sci-fi or paranormal, dystopian, that's where you have to be really careful. Because like dystopian, it's on its way out. Nobody's buying dystopian. So if you're going to query it and try to get agents to pick it up, at the end of the day, people want to make money, and they're not going to pick up something that's going to sit for 5 to 10 years before the train comes back around. They're going to say, what else do you have? So it's kind of a waste of time to query something like that, but it's not a waste of time to write it. And for sure, I think a big part of publishing these days anyways, if you want to be a noticeable author, is having a platform. So if you're working on a platform, you have a big enough audience, why not self-publish? However, it's going to take a lot of time. There's a huge learning curve, and you have to be really confident in your work or have enough money to pay someone to like developmentally edit your book, copy edit your book. You have to look for professional cover artists because, guys, like the stuff I see that gets self-published is so ratchet. So it's really important to either have the money to invest into it or have the time to invest into it and to be picky as hell and anal. Reese, just because you're whispering doesn't mean I can't hear you. Oh my God, my kid's here and he's like whispering all loud. But it all kind of boils down to what you have, like what you're willing to do and if you're willing to go to bat for it. But at the end of the day, whether you traditionally publish or self-publish, you're going to have to do a lot of work. You've got to build your platform. They're not going to advertise and market stuff for you, especially if you're a debut author. That's just hard. But having the clout of traditional publisher makes things easier in the long run, but not the actual process, if that makes sense. Okay. Oh no, the links don't work. I'm so sorry. Guys, this is the most like jacked up experience I've had on YouTube. Like I've got this, like they make you download all this crazy shit to go live, and then the stuff is all crazy. It's not working, and it's like, oh, everything's great to go. Just kidding, it's not. And I was like, seriously, like there's nothing here. So I'm so sorry that the links aren't working. I will have the links on my Twitter if you follow me on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. All that stuff's going to be on all of my other platforms. So I hate to send you somewhere else to look. Actually, I can put some links right here in Darkness Comes at Dawn. Pre-order. Boom. Yeah, there we go. Okay. See, I got you, YouTube. Tried to stop me. Okay, one of the final questions. How do you get from your mind to the page? Do you just write, even if it's bad, or plan it out? And how did I choose the title name? Okay, and do you think it's hard for a historical fiction novel in publishing? Okay, so let me go with those, the easiest or fastest. Title name. I'm just really good at picking title names. I don't know what it is. Darkness Comes at Dawn is literally, it's figurative and it's literal, so so I picked the title name that really encompasses the whole book. Because Katie goes through a lot, like, guys, I'm just gonna be upfront and honest here. This book, the first one is very like cute and quirky and it has some dark moments, but this one is really dark. This is where my like urban fantasy with moral ambiguity comes into play because she suffers from depression, and depression leads to, well, addiction. That's not really a spoiler. There's a lot of stuff that just happens and a lot of stuff that she willingly lets happen, and craziness ensues. So she goes through a very dark period, and it's at the dawn of the last book. Like at the last book, she has quite a bit of an awakening of who she is and what she is, and she's still confused at all of that, but then what follows is the darkness of the literal chaos that is her life. And then, of course, I've got other things going on in this book that are happening big world-wise, and so Darkness Comes at Dawn was both a literal and figurative title. So that's how I come up with it. I just think of the whole book in general and something that's a little catchy. So historical fiction, do I think that that's good in publishing? Historical fiction, it depends. Is it young adult? Because if you're doing anything young adult, I say go for it, unless it's a trend that just died, like dystopian. And fantasy with the romance seems to be on its tail end. So, but at the same time, that's just general. That's always general. If you write something that's so niche or so different from the vague general trend, it's always going to do well, I think. But historical fiction in general is its own big thing. If it's an adult historical fiction, I mean, go for it, because people are always buying. There are publishing companies that specifically work with historical fiction, so they're always going to buy that because they know that they have an audience for it. The only time that we really run into problems with genre and trends is in young adult fiction, because for some reason young adult publishers think that young adults are too stupid to like stay focused. You can only publish one kind of thing, and we've got to follow the trend. And that's because there's a lot of money in it. But anything else, like adult, they're always pumping out the same type of thing because they know people are buying it and reading it. So, I mean, go for it. I think, honestly, historical fiction, especially if it's an adult or if it's anything not YA, you're fine. Okay. And then, what was the other one? Oh, how do I get stuff from my mind to the page? Maybe this one was quicker. Honestly, that is my biggest struggle as a writer, is going from mind to the page. I cannot get onto the page until I have fully conceptualized the emotional journey of each and every character. For me, in the second book, it wasn't until I understood Zuri, who's a side character, but she quickly, in my next book, becomes one of the main focuses. Her relationship with her and Katie, they're like the dynamic duo, the yin and the yang kind of, not because they're always opposing each other, but because they're literally kind of just become a solid bond and friendship. So I have to know the emotional journey for each and every character before I can get anything on the page. With my first book, it was even like that with Tristan. I couldn't figure out how to write the complete thing or revise it well enough until I understood his journey and what his whole struggle was. And so for me, that's the hardest part, because how do you figure out someone's emotional journey? Well, I have to consume a lot of media, a lot of music, things that take me out of my world and link me to that character and what they feel at very strong points in times of what's going on. And then on top of that, once I kind of know, I have to force myself to write and force myself in the world. Force it until I'm in that world completely and I'm always thinking about them. And then next thing I know, I'm writing like the wind. Bullseye. Is that a Toy Story reference? Okay, so Darkness Comes Down. Okay, totally buying these books. Thank you, girl. Thanks. I hope you enjoy them. Guys, I always hope that you enjoy the story. And if you don't, go ahead, let me know. I mean, I know that Katie, as a main character, isn't for everybody. Sometimes she gets on my nerves. I'm like, damn, Katie. But in this book, I really develop a lot of respect for Katie. She goes through a lot of shit, and she's pretty fucking strong. And obviously, I love my other side characters, so I hope you really enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed writing it. Okay, so do I have a favorite genre to write? My favorite genre to write is fantasy, epic fantasy. I've been working on one manuscript for I don't know how many years, and it involves all types of magic. It's actually what I call the origin, and it's because it deals with my favorite type of magical creature, which I'm not going to mention here because it's actually kind of spoilery. But you'll actually know in the third book. I think you'll know in the third book what my favorite magical creature is, because it appears in the third book in a very traumatizing way. But I love fantasy. I love epic worlds. I love Game of Thrones kind of style. Not necessarily the same world, but the same feel of political intrigue and craziness and different multiple points of view and stuff like that. So actually, in all honesty, I wrote this series. I wrote The Keeper's Vow first because I needed to learn how to write from one person's perspective before I could pull off the book that I'm writing now. And this one just turned into a book too because I had so many people asking me, well, what happened next? And then I just thought about it. And then I was like, oh, that's too good not to write. So then I wrote it. And then now I'm writing book 3. And because I can't just leave it where book 2 is. Like, if once you guys read book 2, you'll know that there's no possible way to leave off a series like that. It's just too jacked up. So once I'm done with 3, though, I'm probably done with paranormal or urban fantasy in general. I really love fantasy and I love sci-fi. I've also got like a pirate sci-fi thing going on. Not like pirates, like pirates, but just sci-fi. Like think like Firefly, like feel like you know how they're space pirates. I love that shit. So those are my 2 favorite things to write: fantasy and then sci-fi. But sci-fi adventure, like space pirate adventure. Okay, let me look at the other questions. Do you have plans to write for other genres, or do you want to stick to it? I just answered that one, I guess. Hey, Ashley, she's late, but it's all right as long as you arrive. Okay, and would you be open to the possibility of editing my manuscript? Because I have a great eye, which is why I trust you. Oh, okay. Oh, I have a great eye. Thank you. Yeah, for sure. You know what? If you go to my website, www.francinasimone.com, I have my editing services there, and you can even request like a sample to like, I do like $1 per page of a sample edit. You can see what my prices are, and we can do a sample edit so you can see exactly what it's like to work with me. And also, I need to know like what kind of book you're writing with historical fiction. Because if I'm not interested in the story, or I'm not super like passionate about like, ooh, this is a good story and I want to read it, then I will not edit it. Because, you know, like I honestly believe every editor has to be super passionate and in love with the story that they are reading. Because if they're not, they're gonna do some bogus ass work, and I'm not about that life. I have to stand by my principles. Quality is one. So go ahead and like just go to my website, editing services. It's in the menu, and then and then let me know from there. You just email me, thefrancinasimone@gmail.com. So yeah, just like actually, if you go to my editing services, the email for my editing services, it's francinaedits@francinasimone.com. Just go there, and we can work something out from there, girl. Yeah, send me some stuff. Okay, authors always talk about how their characters feel like real people. Mine don't. Oh no, your characters need to be real people. So, okay, so how do you make your characters feel like real people? The answer there is right now your characters are still in not real mode. Wow, that was helpful. The award goes to Francina for the most unhelpful bitch alive. So what you have to do, honestly, is sit down and think about what their motivations are, their actual struggles, and why they're like that. Oftentimes, I think we don't write real people because we don't understand people at the human level. We understand general, like, that girl right there, she's a bitch. I don't like her. She does bitch stuff. But the answer is why, or the question is why. Why is she like that? Why do I perceive her like that? Why, when I do that same shit, I don't consider myself a bitch when I do the same stuff, but I'm calling her out. Why is that? Like, as soon as you really start to understand the human condition and what makes people human, what makes them do the things that they do, how culture plays into that, they start to become real, because there's no way that you can really, once you know your characters and you know how they would react to something, then that means you know them completely, like you would know a friend or a sibling, and there's no going back from there. There's just a disconnect right now. And once you understand the human condition more and how culture plays into a part of that, how our relationships with other people make us who we are, then I think your characters will really start to feel real once you put that into your work. I hope that makes sense. That's a, it's a question that deserves like at least 10 minutes to talk about. So that's a hard one to lump into something quickly. Okay. Do you have any tips for writing from the first person perspective? Oh, you know what? First person for me is the easiest and the most fun. What I would suggest you do is start a journal for your character. Like, you guys will not believe how many hamsters Katie has killed and how many times she's fed chocolate to her hamsters, how many times Tristan has chastised her for feeding chocolate to her hamsters and not buying real hamster food. Like, none of that is in my books, but I always, even if I write in third person, I write journal entries for each character so I can get into their voice, get into their head, see how they feel about other people, what other people, when other people say things, how they react. So start writing a journal for those people. It's boring at first. So pick something really funny or really stupid to start out. Like the hamster thing. I always start out something really stupid. Or sorry guys, I'm burping so much. It's because I'm pregnant. Or I start out with something really like intense. For me, it's romance. Like in my fantasy work, I have a main character and she's a girl and she's got this strong tie to this other guy. So I always write journal entries about how she thinks about him at different points in the book, and it really helps to get into that voice and to understand how they talk and how they think and whether they're like a serious type of low-key chick or whether they're like super ditzy and weird or vapid or just all in all way too like out there and extroverted or way super introverted. Make journal entries for them. I'm so serious. And if you do it by hand, it's that much better. Okay, Firefly is so hooked. Firefly. I'm so sad that they canceled that show. Like, I literally want to go at NBC. That show from the beginning. Because they're like, it's sci-fi. Nobody likes it. And then they showed it all out of order. So, of course, nobody likes it. Nobody knows what it's about. Ugh. Don't get me started about Firefly. I love that show. Hate what they did to it. But it's on Netflix for anybody who's never watched it. Okay, hell yeah. Okay, so the inability to connect with the character is where archetypes and cliches are born, yes. And it's okay to start your character off as a stereotype. Just know that you were stereotyping the hell out of that bitch, and you really got to go back and figure out why are they personifying these stereotypes. That helps you dig a lot deeper. Because in all honesty, lots of people are stereotypes when we first see them, you know? Like, there's that girl, there's that dude. And then once you get to know them, you understand the layers behind them. So starting off with a stereotype and a cliche is okay. But when you don't dig deep, and you don't go deeper than that, that's where you get into lots of trouble. Okay, so have I ever participated in NaNoWriMo? You know what? Like I tried to this last one in November, but I was super pregnant and gross, and I just did one video for it. And I'm really bad at forcing myself to write and doing stuff like that. So I tried, kinda, not my best. But I am this year. And there's also Camp NaNoWriMo coming up April 1st. I just got an email about it. So I'm thinking about participating in that because, guys, I need to really start getting my writing juice on. I've been so busy working on other people's stuff that I'm just like so far out of my own. And I need to get back into it. So Camp NaNoWriMo, here I come. Okay, the journal's a good idea. It really is. They really are, guys. I cannot tell you anymore. Like, even right here, I've got tons of journals, like, at my desk. This one's all busted up because it was in a book or it was in a suitcase for way too long or a box. Like, guys, I handwrite journals all the time. Dang, like, I got so many empty pages here. No, but I handwrite them all the time because it helps so much. Even if it's just something small and it's silly, it gets you in the mood, if anything, and really helps you understand a character. So when I say journal, I mean like for real. Do it. Just try it. Oh yeah, I'm pregnant. So it's another boy, and he's eating me alive. I'm dying over here, guys. I'm really dying. In fact, I should probably eat soon. Otherwise, I'm going to get indigestion and not be able to go to sleep. I am almost done, though. He should be born at the end of April, early May. And life is going to be crazy as fuck for me in the next few months. Yeah. 3-year-old, a dog that's still in puppy-like years. Oh. And then a newborn. And I've got a cat. Hey, Charlie. You want to say hi, Charlie? He's an asshole. He doesn't want to say hi. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty crazy for me around here. Plus work. Okay, so I don't know what I'm gonna write, or read, or sleep. Oh God, I'm laughing, but I'm so serious. Is there a genre name for a prequel to a dystopian world? You know what? I don't know. If it was contemporary before that, you know what? I would call that kick-ass. Like, if anybody asked me, what genre is it? It's kick-ass, bitch. Like, all of the world goes to hell. There are books that I've read, I think, that are kind of like that. I think. But I don't know what the genre would be called. If anybody else knows, I mean, like, type it in the chat box by all means. But, just make one up. Like, be like, I don't know, just be like, like when you make stuff up and you make it like real niche, like you're like, I'm this, that. It really like makes people interested. They're like, oh, you're that kind of writer. If you say it's a dystopian, they're gonna be like, But if you say it's like real world blank, 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 but the worst happens and this and this and this. Oh yeah, apocalyptic. Damn, look. Yeah, apocalyptic. That's what it's called. Okay, so when you workshop someone else's writing, what do you, ooh, that moved fast, think is most helpful advice you can offer? What's the thing you find yourself coming back to again and again and again in workshops? Okay, so guys, honestly, it's funny you asked that. I am starting on March 15th to do writing tips via email. So if you sign up for my mailing list, you'll get a writing tip every Wednesday. And if you sign up for my mailing list, the first email you get is a PDF that has like the 6 fundamental elements of writing an amazing first chapter. Not only is it the 6 fundamental elements of writing an amazing first chapter, it's also the 6 fundamental elements of having an amazing book, because it goes over some of the basic stuff that every like new writer misses, and a lot of novice, like professional, I'm talking like they're on book 5, I'm talking like Sergey Moss level writers who still miss, and it's so blatantly obvious. A lot of the stuff that they miss is for sure some of the tough stuff, but a lot of the stuff that new writers miss is things like internal voice, things like establishing world culture, internal and external plot lines, and getting to that plot motivations, establishing the motivation of the character, the struggle, and how their world inhibits them or helps them towards that. What is that opportune moment? Things like that. And movement is a huge one too. By movement, I mean like if you're on a bus and you're reading a book, for sure that's your storyline, but what else is happening around you? There are tons of people on that bus. Your readers need to feel those people on that bus, even though they're following the reader who is reading a book on the bus. Nobody would read a book about somebody reading a book on a bus, but you get what I'm saying. So movement is a huge thing. So if you go to my mailing list, actually, I think I have a link to it somewhere. I can find it. Okay, so I'm going to leave a link to my mailing list, and you can get that PDF. And writing tips every Wednesday, because who doesn't want writing tips every Wednesday? But I'll leave a link there, and the PDF. I'm telling you, it's what I always send out to the people after I revise it. I send them that because it's also a lot more in depth with what I'm talking about when I talk to them and leave them comments and stuff. And it's always something really nice to go back to, because when you revise, for me, when I revise things one at a time. I try not to hit everything at the same time. So it's nice to have a mailing list. Okay, so it's nice to have something to go back to keep you on track and to say, okay, I got that, check. Or I need to work on internal voice in all these chapters. So where do I need to do that? And what is it again? And what should I change this time? It's really nice, I think, just to, try it again. Okay, so I think it's really good to have that in there. But my mailing list, you can find it, I think you can find it on any of my other videos as well. But I will leave links and stuff. It's a TV show. Hey. Okay, no, let me see. Okay, I was binging her videos and I just realized she's live. Oh, thanks, Bleach. Is that from the anime? Is your husband a writer as well? No, but you know what? My husband's a really good storyteller. He's actually really, really good at understanding people. Maybe because he was secretly an extroverted person, but he grew up in an introverted household. So he had to really understand people to learn extroverted skills. That sounds so sad. But he's really good at understanding people and motivations. And like immediately, if we meet someone, I always go to him off the bat. And I'm like, so is this person like a decent person? And he'll be like, I'm getting weird vibes. No, she's crazy. And like literally 3 months down the line, you'll see this bitch doing some crazy fucking shit. And I'm just like, oh my God, he's so right. This bitch is crazy. So he's not a writer, but he is a great storyteller. But he never wants to write. He hates writing. How do you politely critique someone's writing? Just be honest. Okay. I think that being polite is a little overrated. I think being impolite is really terrible. But find a way to be respectful. If you feel like you're getting emotional about stuff, or you're like, bitch, this is bad writing, like, what were you thinking? If you're using words like that, you're not being respectful of the other person, of the work that they put into anything. So always make it about the work first. Be like, you know what? I love your cheeseburger, that bitch. I love your efforts. But like the character is missing this or that, and blah 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 blah. Like I feel like this and I feel like that. I'm getting this and I'm not really understanding why she would make this choice. And always make it about the work and verbalize and structure your sentences to be about the work and how you relate to the work. Not about what that other person did or didn't do, but how you relate to it. Because sometimes that's the better advice than trying to like tell someone how to do something. I always say, first and foremost, I can never tell anyone how to edit their work. I don't know your story. Like, even though I'm reading it, I'm editing it, I'm doing all this stuff, you are the fundamental person who understands the story way better than anyone else. They're your intentions, right? But at the end of the day, all I can do is tell you how it's coming across, what's missing, and what you're doing and the effect of what you're doing, so that you can say, oh, I don't mean to do that, or yay, I meant to do that, and it's working great, and change or course correct if needed. So it's always about how the writing affects you, if that makes sense. It's a skill to develop. Just work on it. Okay, so have you ever written two versions of the main manuscript and mushed them together to make one? Well, no. I have written two manuscripts of two different books. Like, I had one about a girl. Actually, three. I told you guys earlier, for those of you who just joined, I was talking earlier about how there's a fantasy manuscript that I have going, right? And it was just about this one boy and this girl, and they end up in this other world, and it's progressed a lot. However, I always knew there was something missing, which is why it's been on the back burner for so long, and I ended up writing freestyle about a girl entering into an arranged marriage in a different country for trade reasons, and she gets sent there, and all sorts of other stuff happens, and can't really go into that. And then something else about someone else who has automail. So they're kind of like cyborg people in a weird way. And I kind of ended up mushing the three storylines together because I realized that the people in this book were from this world. They were all from the same kingdom, but they all had left, and then they all converge at the end in different ways. And I was just like, whoa, mind blown. These are the pieces I was missing. And so I've done that before. But I've never, merged two of the same manuscripts. Generally, if I rewrite something, it's better the second time than it was the first time, if that makes sense. Okay, so let me see. Before I go, I just want to let you know it's so funny and amazing. Thank you! And thank you for putting on the reading list, and thank you for the good luck with my pregnancy. I need all the luck I can get. Totally off topic, but if you like sci-fi, we're back in Orphan Black. Oh my god, you know what? Someone else has talked to me about that show. Oh, and then you said it's a TV show. I thought you meant I was a TV show. Guys, I'm embarrassing myself. Okay, my husband's the same way. Yeah. You and I actually, we're quite alike. What's the moment when you had to stick to your guns? Any critiques from groups that just disregard your story? Oh, okay. So all throughout college, I had to stick to my guns. I had one professor, honestly, who was really good at understanding. He was a storyteller and not just a great writer of prose. He could do both. And so he would always make the person who wrote the story leave the room while everyone else critiqued it. Because he realized that, well, first of all, you're sitting in a room with a whole bunch of novice writers critiquing your story, and that's not really that helpful. So when I get those manuscripts back, I'd look at stuff, and the better I got at writing and the better my skills got and I started understanding things, the more I knew what to just, knock off. Like, sometimes, guys, I'd hear people say things like, oh, I don't believe that this car is blue. They don't make that model in blue. That's really what you have to say about this whole story missing a plot line, is the car is unbelievable. But I've had people tell me in my first book with Katie that she was that she had too many flaws. Because I workshopped this when I was in college too. I workshopped a chapter. And nearly everything that people had pointed out, my professor was like, wow, that's really great because you're showing these things that she's authentic in and doing and stuff like that. But a lot of people were nitpicking things about her because they didn't like her as a person. And I was like, well, that's totally cool, guys. You guys are a whole bunch of 20-something-year-olds, some of you in your 30s and 40s, reading about a girl who's a little obnoxious sometimes. And this part of it, one of the biggest critiques I got was, I don't have enough information. It's like it says right here, it's chapter 4. Bitch, I need you to just walk. So there's lots of stuff that I stuck to my guns about, but I always do question it. When someone brings up a good point or something that I feel very close to, I'll wait a while. My husband does this a lot where he'll read my stuff first and he'll be like, this isn't working. I feel like it's stupid. And I'll be like, he did not just call my shit stupid. And then like I have to take a break and then I'll go back to it and I'll realize, okay, well, he's talking about this, and this is probably what's not clicking with him. So I'm obviously not getting something across the way that I want to, and so here, let me fix it here. So it's not necessarily about sticking to your guns as much as it is about knowing why that person said what they did. Is it a personal preference or is it something that's objective? I guess that's what I should have started with and ended with. Sorry about everything in between. Okay. So pants or a plotter? I'm definitely both. I pants and then I plot and then I pants the shit out of that first draft and then I plot the shit out of that. So I pants and then I plot. In fact, I'm usually a no pantser. I don't wear pants. I don't know what's wrong with me. Why did I even tell you guys that? This is why I need to be edited. Okay. Can't have too many flaws. That's right. Like, there's some seriously fucked up people out there. I know that people can't have too many flaws. Do you have any tips for overwriters? It depends on what you mean. Are you an overwriter or over-editor? Do you write, like, way too much stuff, and then you just keep writing new stuff? Or do you edit, like, way too much? Like, you're a little crazy with the editing. If you write too much stuff, then you need to really start thinking about whether, are you developing stuff every time you write? Is there some push and some progress forward? Is your story like an epic fantasy that could be really, you're just written like 200,000 words and you've got like 3 books? Actually, that's more like 2.5 books. You've got like 2.5 books there? Or are you just writing a whole bunch of journal entries and you like them because they make your characters do funny stuff and you smile and you're like, oh, this is so cute, and everybody else is like, bitch, stop writing stuff. Just take this out and finish the book already. So it really depends. I would say overall, know where your story's going, know how to develop it, know when you're not developing it, edit that stuff out, and you'll get a lot better at not overwriting. If you're an over-editor, I over-edit, so I don't have any tips. I edit the shit out of stuff. Flaws that make characters interesting. Yes, flaws do make characters interesting. They are like, they're the fundamental of a character. I mean, like, I've never met a person who's not flawed. In fact, being nice to me sometimes is a flaw. So, so mean. You're too nice. You have flaws. Okay, let's see. I'm asking all these questions because I got workshop today, and it was super helpful, but seeing some trends and what's worthwhile feedback and what isn't. Definitely having an open mind throughout the process is amazing, and great articulation. You mean I have great articulation? I always make everything about myself, don't I? I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so big-headed. Like, my head is naturally really big, too. My mom says it was always big. Anyways, okay, thanks. I shouldn't have said that then. I should have just left it at that. Thank you. Thank you. But no, yeah, like, especially when you get workshopped, having an open mind helps tremendously. I mean, a lot of the times I would go into it pretty jaded, like, what do you people have to offer me? Nothing. Like, I was terrible. But having an open mind and knowing, especially when you're doing it kind of, it almost sounds strategic, but like, you're looking at what worked for some people, what did they get out of it, and that's what you're looking at. Not necessarily their advice, but you're looking at how it affects them. And I think, honestly, that could be sometimes the whole point of workshopping. But usually we go for advice, and that can be dangerous. How long do you think the standard chapter should be? You know what? My chapters range anywhere from 1,000 words all the way up to like 10,000 sometimes. 10,000 is like a long chapter for me. Generally, they're about 6,000 words. And I'll tell you what I go based off of. Like, If I look at the Keeper's Vow, my first chapter is really short. Like, it's pretty like bing bang buck, like bing bang buck. What is that? I think bing bang boom is the phrase. Like, a lot of stuff happens really fast. Or there's a chapter in here where something like spectacularly, amazingly, like horrific happens, and that chapter is like 500 words. But it's the latter part. It's meant to be like like, you know, you focus, zoom in, and you're just like, oh my god. So it really depends on what you have happening in the story. I've got like one of my longest chapters in The Keeper's Vow is maybe like 8,000 words. I think I lied when I said 10,000. It's like 8,000 words, but it was a development, and it's called The Preliminaries, and it's Katie's first day at kind of like a sports day that they have at her school, and she has to do all of these like tournament style things that she's not prepared for. And so we get to see her character tested when she's really been pushed to the limit, not only physically but then mentally, and she's like progressing through this. And then you see her friendships. You see what it means to some other people that are her friends, what it means to Allison. You see what it means to Tristan. And then you see what it means, how it brings the three of them kind of together. And so it's a long chapter. A lot happens, and it really sets the tone for like the forward movement of the book, I think. So it honestly depends on what you're developing in each chapter. Don't go based on page length. Go based on whether you started with something and you resolved it. And it doesn't mean that you resolve like some like, you know, whole thing. It could be the fact that you resolved like a love plot, or the fact that you resolved a solidifying of a friendship. You know, they could have just done some crazy shit and they're about to go finish some crazy shit. But in that one chapter, you really saw how during this crazy shit, two people came together and they just clicked. And we're just like, we were waiting for that this whole book, and wow, it just finally happened. Now let's keep going and see how they double team other people, you know? So it's about resolving something that you're developing, even if it's world as well. Okay. Do you listen to music when you write? I do. I listen to music on repeat. I am a serial repeater. Chapter 1 of this book, I listened to Rihanna's What Now? And what's her name? JJ? You know the chick who sings Flashlight? Flashlight, something like that. Oh my god, guys. Anyway, she has another one that's Who You Are, but I cannot remember. Jessie J, Who You Are. And I listened to that shit on repeat for the first chapter in these books, and it really helped me like get into the emotion of what Katie felt. So I do. I listen to music all the time. In fact, it's odd if I'm not listening to music. Would you ever write time travel-ish type book? I would. I like time travel. But not the scientific kind of time travel, because, guys, wormholes and loopholes and all that sort of stuff is like, I would just fuck it up, and people would read that book and be like, this is impossible. The science behind this is stupid. And I'd be like, yes, it is. But I do like the idea. One of my stories does have a time travel element to it, but it's more of like a teleportation thing than it is time travel. So probably not, because I'm not good at science like that. Not speculative science. Okay. Do you avoid reading when you're writing? I don't. I read. Most of the time I'm not interested in reading when I'm writing, though. So, how many questions? Okay. So I just looked at the time. It's 8:44, and I'm going to have to start getting my son ready for bed in like 15 minutes. So, like 15 more minutes, guys? Okay, so how many questions should a story leave a reader? That's a good question. How many questions should a story leave a reader? It depends. Are you building a series, or do you mean as a standalone? If it's a standalone, questions can be had, but the main, your character's motivation at the beginning of the story and whatever it snowballs into needs to be resolved. Anything else that's a question, like whether two people get together or not, because it's kind of hinted at, but at the same time, they're not really compatible and they just kind of go back and forth. That could be a question that's left open. If you're talking about like a series, I would always say that the main plot of the story needs to be summed up. It doesn't have to be neat. Like, for example, I just read Poison Study, and I thought that the plot of the plot was a little neatly wrapped up. Like everything was a happy ending wrapped up versus things are resolved, but shit's messy. Like in my book, The Keeper's Vow, at the very end, there's a lot of mess left behind, but the story in itself is wrapped up. It's just some of the final events leave the world a little catastrophic. And going into Darkness Comes at Dawn, we find out just how catastrophic it left the world. So some questions are okay as long as you wrap up the initial question asked in the book, if that makes any sense. I hope that makes sense. Oh, Who You Are makes me cry all the time too. I was crying. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, Kate. I don't know who you are, but we go find out, girl. Like I literally was like pretty depressed reading or writing like that part. How many questions? Oh, I already did that. How do you write like you're running out of time? Like you're running out of time. So how do you write like Hamilton? You do crack. No, I'm just kidding. But honestly, I think it's when you're in your zone. Like when you snatched. There's this writer who did Eat, Pray, Love, and she talked about a muse. I've never read Eat, Pray, Love, but I watched her TED Talk, and it was really interesting. She talked about having a genius or a muse, and it used to be that was your talent. So I always make a joke now that, when my muse is here or my, like, genius or daemon or whatever, that they leave an idea, and either I claps onto it and run with it really fast, like it fills you. You're full of it. You're full of the world. You're full of the character. You're full of everything that's happening, the emotion. I mean, even if what you write is shit on the page, you're still full of everything, and you type. So it's when you've got that full inspiration, and it's bugging you, and you are literally zoned in. Everything is black around you. Like it would literally be like when I was writing both books, things would kind of go black around my computer screen. And I'd be typing, and then I'd like look around, and I'd be like, oh, the sun's down, but my blinds are up. I should probably go close my blinds, especially since we're not wearing pants. Like, like I would be so in tune with what's going on that in my story that the outside world disappears. I think that's for me is when I can write like I'm running out of time. Other than that, I'd be writing like I got all the time in the world. It's so sad. And that was a Bomb Hamilton quote. And yeah, Jessie J. Okay, the logistics of time travel hurts my brain. It does for me too. Like I can't with stuff like that. And space stuff, I'm just like, we're in space, but I'm not going to talk anything about space shit. So this is not space. This is not sci-fi. This is sci-fi fantasy. Okay, so what are some of your favorite books outside of the YA genre? Let's see. I love a nonfiction books by Flannery O'Connor. Okay, this is hard because I have very few on my list, which should make it easy, but it's not. Oh, you know what? I love stuff by Christopher Moore, like Lamb. I read that slowly because I like it. I digest it slowly, and it's something I can always jump into. Who else do I like? And I'm like, oh, you know what? Cressley Cole. No, she writes like erotic, like paranormal fantasy. And I shouldn't say that it's erotic. It's paranormal fantasy, but it has like some serious erotic tones to it. Her stuff is hilarious to me, though. I like her worlds because they're just so fucking funny. I sometimes like to read like historical fiction, but it really depends on the tone. But books. I have no title names. I'm so sorry. I'm the worst person it comes to when you're like, what's your favorite book? Because I would be like, I like this, but it had so many problems. I don't feel comfortable recommending it. I like genres more than I like the books themselves, if that makes any sense. Brandon Sanderson, Mistborn. I really enjoyed that one. That's in the fantasy section. And you know what? I'm trying to get into Victoria Schwab, so I can't say anything because I haven't read the book yet, but I want to, so I'm going to soon. Okay, let's see. How do you deal with the feeling of am I good enough? Oh my gosh. It's funny that you asked that because I always say that I have a big head and I'm conceited. I never have those feelings. No, I'm just kidding. You know what it is? When you start feeling that way, For me, that means it's time for me to work. I'm not focused enough on the actual work that I'm doing. And so I'm over here thinking in the abstract about how I'm not good enough and this and that. And it's like, just shut up and go work. Like you're not working. If you do the work, you will become good enough. Um, or not good enough, but you will become skilled. And once you're skilled, you know how to better your skills. You know what I mean? Like it's like someone who literally a craftsman. If you work with wood in the beginning, of course you're not good enough to make anything, but the more you practice, the better you are. And the better you are, the better you are at learning new skills and crafting and honing your skills. So I deal with it by stopping and just going to work. You have a system in place because my favorite quote actually right here is success is, let me see, it's right here. Success usually comes to those too busy looking for it. That's by Henry Thoreau. And it has a ring of truth to it. If you're always working and you're always busy, you don't have time to be thinking about your successfulness of being good enough or skilled enough because you're constantly building on those skills. So just one day you will be. Actually, one day you never will be because as a writer, you're always working on it. So just work through it. I love lamb too. Cressley Cole, yes, yeah. They do have a healthy amount of Cressley Cole books have a healthy amount of smut. They're not like too crazy where you're like, and they're not like too prude where you're like. So I love Cressley Cole. Thoughts on ghost writing? I shudder at the word. You know what? I don't know. I don't. You know what? Look, I think if someone needs a ghostwriter, okay, let me put it this way. There are two types of writers. There's a person who's really good at writing prose, and there's someone who's really good at storytelling. And then there's a third person who can't do either. And sometimes everybody has a story to tell, and if you hire someone to help you with the writing and the storytelling of it, I'm not hating. I don't care. I don't care how people write their stuff as long as it's quality. If your ghostwriter is ratchet as hell, I'm gonna be like side-eyeing that shit. Like, yeah, I don't know why you got a ghost to write it because this shit's dead. That was a bad joke. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not sure if you've answered this before, but are there any cliches in books you especially dislike or that I feel are overused? You know what? I didn't answer this already. But I don't feel like there's anything specifically that's overused or anything that I don't like. I just don't like it when it's not done well. I love cliches. You know why I love cliches? Because cliches have truth to them. I always say that when I was writing my second book. There were a lot of moments that I had writing this book that were cliche. Like I would think something and I'd be like, that is such a cliche thing, and it's so true. Like the cliche of depression, like don't tell people to feel, like when people say when you're depressed, just be happy. Like that is such a cliche thing to say, and it's such a cliche thing for people to do to people with depression. But it's the natural reaction. It has such a ring of truth to it. Now, seeing someone do that poorly is like it just being in dialogue, and you don't see the emotions behind it, like the uncomfortableness of someone with someone else's depression, or the way that person tries to avoid them, or like the final tension that comes up where they're just like, God, why do you always have to be like this? Like everything is such a gloomy situation. Can't you just move forward? Like, when people finally hit that straw where they're just like, I'm tired of you being sad all the time. Like, to me, that's the raw emotion that we feel with the cliche. And when you don't get that, the cliche is empty. There's no kernel of truth. So I'm tired of not seeing the kernel of truth in cliche moments, if that makes any sense. But there's not any like specific cliche that I don't like. I'm open to anything as long as it's done well. But when it's not, I just be ragging on that shit. Okay, so ways to get rid of writer's block. When you know, let me know. No, I'm just kidding. I think writer's block happens when there's some people who say the writer's block doesn't exist. You just aren't writing. And then there are some people who say that it's a very real thing. And I think it's a mixture of both. Writer's block just means that your creativity is blocked in some way or form. You're not inspired by something. So I would honestly say go out and find inspiration. Look into things that you normally would not read. I notice that my block happens a lot when I'm reading a lot of the same type of genres. Sometimes I just jump completely out. Like it'll be interesting. I'm reading a book that is completely outside of my genre, completely outside of my category. It might be like adult historical fiction. And I'll read it, and then the character will do something that's very similar to something I'm trying to do or reminds me of my character. And I'm like, this is what I'm missing. A moment where they realize this, or a moment where they're doing this. Two completely different genres, two completely different everything. Oh my God, what happened outside? Like a bomb went off or something? Jesus. I swear, my next door neighbors, as soon as I have this baby, I swear to God, I'm going to like have him screaming up towards the roof. I will hold him up Mufasa, like Rafiki style, to the roof so that they hear my child screaming every time in the middle of the night because I'm so sick of these people making noise. And my window's open. I hope you all heard that. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, so writer's block. So I think you have to consume media, especially media outside of what you're used to consuming. And I hope that helps. So guys, I think that's like all the questions. I think I've managed to answer a whole bunch of questions. You know, I originally was like, it'll be like 30 minutes. I'll talk about the book for like 5 minutes, and then 25 minutes I'll answer questions. And it's like 8:56. Granted, I didn't start until 7:40. I'm so sorry about all the technical difficulties, guys. Like, thank you for staying with me and for being on board because, oh my God, this was like the hardest thing to like make everything work for some reason. But at least I look cute while I was trying, right? Like that's what I tell myself. So guys, thank you for being here, and thank you guys, all of you, for like all the cover love. I'm so glad about this book, and I really hope that you guys enjoy it, that you'll check it out. And if you haven't read Darkness Comes at Dawn yet, The Keeper's Vow. Where am I from? I am from all over the place. I was born in Germany. I lived there for a long time. And then I moved to Orlando, Florida. So I lived in Orlando, Florida for like most of my formative years. I don't sound like it. Everybody always says I have an accent, and especially like I sound like I'm from New York or something. I don't know what it is. I live in Idaho now. People in Idaho like have Midwestern accents. Like it's not special. So I don't know why I sound weird. But I'm generally from Orlando, Florida. I'll say that. Gatorland. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. And I hope that all of the questions and the answers were decent. And again, I do want to remind you guys that if you join my mailing list, you will get writing tips every Wednesday. And there are a lot of stuff that I deal with my clients, a lot of stuff that I deal with people asking me questions. So I really try to like be as unique as possible with them, with the type of questions. They're not just writing tips. They're more like storytelling tips. You know, I'm not going to teach you how to do dialogue. Everybody knows how to find a book on dialogue. But I will, tell you things about motivation and what types of things you need to see in motivation in your characters and stuff like that, and internal voice and all that. So I hope you guys all have a great night. I hope I didn't talk too fast. And I love you guys. So TTYL to top for now. Bye. How do I end this? I don't know how to end this. I'm just going to sit here for a while in that awkward moment. Oh, so sad. I'm so sad. I'm so sorry. You know what? Like, the recording of this will be up soon. I'll probably edit it because it's like an hour and 45 minutes long. Half of it's of me, like, talking, like, all mime-like because the audio wasn't working. And before you guys actually go, like, do you guys want me to do more live stuff? Like, I can try figuring this shit out so I can do it better next time and just, like, do random live shit. I might do live stuff on Instagram or something. I don't know. Anyways. I'm trying to figure out still how to end this, and I'm just doing that awkward talk that you know when you like talk, you're all awkward. Like when you say bye and you say bye to everybody, and then you're like still standing there next to each other. Yeah, that's what's happening right now. Okay, I think I figured it out. Okay, so for real now, guys. Bye. Okay, I'll do more live stuff. Okay, now you guys really have to stop like talking in the chat thing because I can't. I like have a problem where I can't hang up on people when they're still talking. Team awkward. Yeah, we're definitely on the awkward bus over here. Ooh. Chung chung. Okay, bye guys. Bye. Like I'm hitting the stop button now. Bye. Bye. Okay, now I still have to. Oh my God. Okay. Bye.